The year is 1996. Jamie is working as a salesman in the electronics store. He is fooling around, improvising, and doing his best to impress the customers while selling stereo equipment such as TV screens and cell phones. The shop is full of people and Jamie is giving away his business cards and even dancing with some of the customers. Jamie goes with Christy, one of his coworkers, to the back room and they start kissing. Christy dials by accident the number of her boyfriend Jerry, who is in the other room, and he hears Jamie and Christy over the phone and walks in on them. Jerry storms in and Jamie gets a kick in the nose. As Christy and Jerry are arguing, Jamie meets a new customer, Amber, and they flirt a bit before Jerry kicks Jamie out of the store. Before leaving, Jamie shouts to Jerry that he owes him a large commission. Jamie is at his family's gathering, and his father and siblings are discussing the medical profession, all in a pleasant mood. They are having dinner and celebrating the sale of Jamie's brother's company. The family wants to know about what Jamie's next step will be since he quit his work, and Jamie explains he is considering working as a pharmaceutical representative. Jamie attends the preparatory schooling course at Pfizer Pharmaceutical Company, and after completing the intensive course with other candidates, he gets positioned for selling Zoloft and Zithromax in the Ohio River Valley. Jamie, being a womanizer, is lying in bed with his new boss. She wants to know what he is thinking about, and he says making money. The following day, Jamie is in a car with one of his colleagues, Bruce, who is giving him final sales advice for his first day as a pharmaceutical rep. Jamie starts working and chasing doctors through the parking lot as he is trying to sell Zoloft and other pills to them. Jamie and Bruce go to different hospitals and firms to try and pitch their product. As they go from hospital to hospital, they encounter a lot of competition and observe their approach to selling. They are waiting in the lobby and Jamie is explaining his dating tricks. Bruce perceives Jamie's skills as promising for this type of work, and he hopes for Jamie to help him get to Chicago one day to sell pharmaceuticals there. Jamie is talking to Gail, the receptionist, and trying to charm her and leave the medical samples there. Gail is resistant to his sales methods, but one of her colleagues seems impressed. As Jamie is leaving samples of Zoloft in the hospital cupboard, he picks up samples of Prozac and secretly throws them out in the garbage, where a homeless man picks them up. Days are passing by and Jamie is gradually improving his selling tactic and bringing flowers to various women working in the hospital. In the elevator, he runs into a girl and tries one of his tactics by calling her Lisa. The girl straightforwardly tells him she is doing the sales job because she wants to be around doctors and eventually marry one. In the restaurant, Bruce complains about Jamie being below his quota on selling pharmaceutical supplies, and he points him to one of the competitor workers as he is having a drink with one of the local doctors. A bit later, Jamie decides to approach Dr. Knight and offer him a $1,000 check for a special Pfizer preceptorship, meaning he would follow Dr. Knight and learn more about his work. Dr. Knight agrees and suggests Jamie introduces himself as his intern. Doctor is checking up on a new patient whose case is kind of an emergency. She has an early stage of Parkinson's disease, which is uncommon for younger patients, and her medicines got stolen due to burglary. Dr. Knight prescribes new medicine and does a checkup on the patient, and Jamie introduces himself as Dr. Knight's intern. Jamie is rearranging his medical supplies in the car, and the girl who was in Dr. Knight's office approaches and starts hitting Jamie with her bag. She is furious because she realizes he is a drug representative but was present during her checkup, where she also had to take some of her clothes off. Jamie tries to apologize and learn her name, but the girl just takes a photo of him and abruptly leaves. Jamie calls the hospital receptionist and asks for the phone number of the girl who was in Dr. Knight's office. Jamie's brother Josh stops by, upset that his girlfriend Farah dumped him. He asks Jamie to give him some anxiety pills because he is having a panic attack. After a while, Josh calms down and focuses his attention on watching TV. Jamie decides to give the girl a call and ask for a coffee date. She answers the phone from her art studio, and after a bit of persuasion, she finally agrees and sets the time and date. Jamie walks in as Maggie is finishing up her shift at a coffee shop and they sit down and talk. All Jamie's attempts of seduction fail as Maggie already knows what he might say. They speak in a very open manner and Maggie lets him know she has the same kind of expectations as he does to find an hour or two of relief from being themselves. They go back to Maggie's place and sleep together. Afterward, she gives him his pager back and asks him to leave. As days are passing by, they meet a couple more times and both seem to be positively affected by each other's presence. One night, Maggie appears at Jamie's door with no clothes under her coat. She was planning to surprise Jamie, but she wasn't aware his brother Josh is in the apartment as well. That night, Jamie and Maggie talk a bit more as they are lying in bed. Jamie wants to know why she doesn't have a boyfriend, and Maggie explains she likes to keep it simple. Jamie is throwing out samples of Prozac as usual when Trey, a sales representative, comes by and beats Jamie. He tells him he is in the top 10 drug reps nationally because he won't allow anyone to get in his way. Jamie goes to the hospital, but they won't allow him to leave his samples there any longer. The receptionist admits Trey offered them a trip to Hawaii, so they have his samples instead. Jamie is feeling restless, so he buys some food and goes to see Maggie. As they are eating on the bed, joking and chatting, Maggie gets upset due to her believing Jamie is hoping to have a relationship with her. She reminds him she is sick and opens up about her past relationship with Trey. After hearing about Trey, Jamie gets a bit insecure, so instead of spending time in bed, Maggie suggests talking and sharing stories instead, and Jamie's confidence soon returns. Maggie realizes Jamie is pretty competitive with other guys, especially with Trey, who not only dated Maggie, but is also his opponent at work. In the morning, Jamie is looking at Maggie's art photos and she asks him not to call her again as she can't deal with being in a relationship. At night, Jamie goes with his coworker Bruce and his brother to a bar. In the car, they are discussing a new Pfizer drug called and Jamie thinks he'd be great at selling it. Once they arrive at the bar, Jamie goes to talk to Dr. Knight and Trey. He argues with Trey over Maggie. Trey believes he shouldn't be dating a girl that is sick, and Jamie is upset because Trey was dating Maggie even though he is married. Once the situation almost escalates, Trey leaves and Jamie pitches a Zoloft to Dr. Knight and helps him out with dating advice. Jamie feels inspired to call Maggie, but she doesn't want to talk to him. The next day, he goes to see her in person. Maggie is preparing to go on a trip to Canada. She is leading a group of older people to get their medicine prescriptions there. Jamie stays in the car the whole time, waiting for her to return. Once Maggie returns and sees Jamie waiting for her, she jokingly informs him that once this relationship ends, she will be allowed to tell all of his secrets to her friends, meaning to say she is willing to try the relationship with him. They go home together and spend some romantic time. Jamie starts selling and advertising the new drug called and, considering his dating experience, it proves to be a big success and everyone wants to buy it. Jamie is talking on the phone with his mother and tells her the sales are going great with around 2,000 prescriptions. Later, Maggie wants to know why Jamie needed to lie and increase the number of sold prescriptions. They get into a small argument that turns into a sweet conversation about Jamie's virtues. At the bar, Jamie is talking to ladies about and a girl he once was hitting on is among the group. Cassie, who he previously referred to as Lisa, once told him she wants to marry a doctor, so Jamie asks Dr. Knight to come and join them. Jamie arrives back home feeling nervous and excited and proclaims his love for Maggie. He admits he never before said "I love you" to another person. Jamie catches Josh in the apartment watching a video of him and Maggie in bed and freaks out. Sometime later, Jamie is driving a car with Maggie sitting next to him and with Josh behind them, and Maggie suddenly seems worried for an unknown reason. Maggie is doing her artwork and her hands start shaking, so she grabs some of her medicines. Meanwhile, Jamie is in Dr. Knight's office watching Dr. Knight insert a test injection into himself. Dr. Knight wants to know if Jamie is coming to the medical convention in Chicago, and Jamie asks him to prescribe Zoloft instead of Prozac to his patients. Jamie arrives home and finds Maggie in a bad state and drunk. She explains she spent hours at the doctor's office, and she then accuses Jamie of being with her due to pity for the sick girl. Jamie calms the situation down and asks her to come with him to Chicago. Maggie gets a flyer at the convention and goes across the street, where people discuss what it's like living with Parkinson's disease. After the convention, she seems genuinely hopeful and inspired and tells Jamie she loves him. During the convention, Jamie talks to a husband whose wife has had Parkinson's for many years, and he explains to Jamie how hard the disease might get with time. Jamie is researching Parkinson's, and he and Maggie visit a lot of hospitals and specialists looking for a cure. After one of their doctor appointments gets abruptly canceled, Jamie and Maggie get into a fight, and she tells him she wants to live her life like before and not spend it chasing a non-existent cure. She adds Jamie wanted to make sure she will be fine so he could allow himself to love her, and then asks Jamie to leave her apartment once they go back home, as there is a bright Chicago future ahead of him. Jamie moves out of Maggie's home. He tries to get a hold of her, but she is not answering her phone. Jamie gets a call from Dr. Knight, who invites Jamie and Josh to a pajama party. The hostess of the party is Cassie, the girl Jamie once flirted with. Both Jamie and John end up having a lot of fun at the party and meeting various girls. During the party, Jamie takes a dose of and a bit later, he suffers a substance reaction, so he begs Josh to take him to an emergency. As they are driving in a car, Josh is having a monologue about always wanting to try a casual no-strings-attached relationship with a girl and how he finally got the chance to try this lifestyle. They get into an emergency, and Jamie gets a message confirming he's transferring to Chicago due to work. As Jamie is about to meet Bruce to celebrate the good news, he runs into Maggie, who is on a date with some new guy. They greet each other, and Maggie congratulates Jamie for making it to Chicago, as it was a big dream for him. Afterward, Bruce admits to Jamie he never wanted to go to Chicago, he wanted Jamie to go there instead. Jamie starts watching the video of him and Maggie they filmed long ago and goes out looking for Maggie. He can't find her in the cafe where she works, so he decides to go after the bus heading to Canada. Jamie stops the bus and asks Maggie to come out and talk to him for 5 minutes. He tells her he doesn't want a perfect life but exactly the one they have right now, and adds she is the first person in his life who thought he was enough. Jamie and Maggie make another video of them talking into the camera. Jamie decides not to go to Chicago but stays with Maggie and applies for medical school.